6 years ago, Adrien Broner stood in a Cleveland courtroom and told a judge he had $13 to his name. He couldn't pay an $855,000 judgment. Then he went on Instagram and called himself a $13 and asked his followers to cash app him $13 each to help him. Before that, he was one of the most bankable young fighters in the sport. 4 world titles and 4 weight classes. He was called the heir to Floyd Mayweather. His slogan was about billions. Somewhere between those two men is one of the fastest financial collapses in modern boxing. And right now, he's attempting something no fighter of his era has tried, rebuilding a fortune not by fighting, but by streaming. So here's the question: can Adrien Broner get rich again? Start with what's real, because a lot of the stories about things that weren't. The talent was real. Adrien Jerome Broner was born in Cincinnati in 1989 and started boxing at 6 years old. He said plainly that without the sport, he'd have ended up in the streets. He built an amateur record of 300 wins and 19 losses. He turned pro in 2008 and immediately started turning heads. 3 first-round knockouts in his debut year. In 2011, he won the WBO super featherweight title. Then he kept climbing: lightweight, light welterweight, welterweight, 4 divisions. He became the second youngest 4-division world champion in the history of boxing. The comparisons to Mayweather weren't marketing, the counterpunching, the shoulder roll, the defensive instincts, and that talent converted into money quickly. These are Broner's publicly disclosed earnings. 2013, roughly $1.5 million. 2014, $1.25 million. 2017, $1 million. 2018, $1 million. 2019, $2.5 million guaranteed, likely over $3 million with pay-per-view. Now, total career earnings are disputed. Based on official commission payout, this puts his base purses somewhere north of $10 million. Other estimates, widely repeated, put total career earnings closer to $30 million once you include pay-per-view backends and sponsorships. Either way, the point stands. A kid from Cincinnati earned generational money before he turned 30. Broner's earning power wasn't just built on winning. It was built on attention, and the way he generated attention was by very publicly spending. The slogan was about billions. The content was cash thrown in clubs, jewelry, cars, entourages, and the spending wasn't a side effect of the fame. It was the product. By reported estimates, he spent roughly $9 million on jewelry, none of which he still owns, a reported $1 million trip to Miami, and ongoing child support obligations tied to 10 children, a number he references himself, sometimes saying 10, sometimes 11. But the single most revealing thing he ever did was in 2016. He posted a viral video touring a $6 million Atlanta mansion, saltwater pool, grand staircase, and he told his audience that he owned it. He didn't. Public property records later showed that the house was a short-term rental. The mansion was rented to project wealth so that he could generate attention to help generate his next payday. The image wasn't funded by the fortune. The image was the business. That model works right up until your payday slows down. In boxing, your earning power is a function of your relevance, and your relevance is a function of your last fight. December 2013, Chris Maidana knocked him down twice and handed him his first professional loss, and exposed the defensive holes underneath the Mayweather comparison. From there, the pattern set in: a big name, a big check, and then Broner would fall short. Porter, Garcia, and in January 2019, Pacquiao, a unanimous decision lost on his biggest financial night. As his fight income was becoming less predictable, his legal obligations were stacking up. A civil case stemming from a Cleveland nightclub lawsuit produced a judgment of more than $780,000 in damages, and later it was cited around $855,000. In New York, the jeweler Pristine Jewelers sued over $1.25 million unpaid jewelry tab, saying they'd collected only a fraction. In Las Vegas, a separate case produced a multi-million-dollar judgment. As his income fell, his liabilities continued to rise. The money slowed down before the lifestyle and obligations did. Which brings us to 2020, and the moment that defined him more than any fight. In a Cleveland courtroom, Adrien Broner, a 4-division world champion, had told the judge he had $13. In October 2022, he announced a 3-fight deal with the streaming platform BLK Prime. Reported as 8 figures guaranteed, it sounded like the rescue. By February 2023, he announced he was a free agent again, and he never fought under the deal, and he never saw the money. He signed with Don King, he beat Bill Hutchinson in 2023, then lost a unanimous decision to Blair Cobbs in June 2024. That's the last time he's fought. The viral moments in this stretch weren't about boxing. There was a video of him appearing to ask for help paying for a ride. He was reportedly selling Instagram story promos for around $350. Fellow fighters, including Ryan Garcia, publicly reached out with concern. Concern about his well-being became a bigger story than any fight. He's since spoken about being sober and back in the gym. In early 2026, a streamer named Dean the Great brought Broner to kick. They started doing marathon IRL streams together under the banner Crash Out Boys. Long, unstructured, unpredictable broadcasts with rappers, athletes, and creators cycling through. And it seems to have worked. Here are some numbers from a recent 30-day window on his Kick channel. 595 hours streamed, that's almost 23 hours a day. 1,859 average concurrent viewers, a peak of 10,000 viewers, over 1.1 million hours watched, 166,000 followers, with roughly 65,000 gained in that single month. Whatever you think of the content, it's a real audience. And on Kick, a real audience is real revenue. On July 1st, 2026, after 30 days of consistently streaming, Broner filmed himself checking his phone, breaking down, and jumping into the swimming pool. He'd been paid. He told the camera he hadn't seen a number like that in years. People thought he was dead. That he was, in his words, back rich, living like he was a world champion again. Reports put his first Kick payout in the region of $150,000. Broner and multiple outlets framed the milestone as him becoming a millionaire again through streaming. The seven-figure claim comes from Broner and from coverage repeating him. Plenty of people in his own comments didn't buy it, and a large payout is not the same as sustainable income. The first check is the easiest one. What we can verify is the audience. The hours watched, the follower growth, those numbers are real. Which brings us to July 8th, 2026. And the locked-in-a-thon 45 days, 24 hours a day, inside a warehouse streamed on Kick with Dean the Great. Framed as getting back into fighting shape. Day one, he came out working out. He's talked about needing 6 months of training to be ready, and floated Ryan Garcia as an opponent. Garcia's response was measured. He was happy Broner's taking care of himself, but not interested in exhibitions or meaningless fights. So the honest math is more promising than it looks. He doesn't need to replicate $2.5 million fight purse. He needs consistent income against a lifestyle he can control. A channel doing 1.1 million hours watched a month, growing 65,000 followers a month, with platform deals, subscriptions, tips, and sponsorship on top. It's a business. It's not a stunt. But there are 3 things standing in the way when they're the same 3 that took the first fortune. The judgments don't disappear. Money that arrives can be claimed. He said the court is back in his hands. But obligations, including support for 10 children, are real. Streaming income's volatile and attention dependent. Boxing purses were guaranteed contracts. His Kick revenue depends on staying interesting every day. The 45-day marathon is an acknowledgement of that. It's a machine for staying relevant. The spending pattern is his real risk. The first fortune wasn't lost to bad luck, it was spent. Professionally, harder. He's 36, hasn't fought since June 2024, and his last 2 performances didn't move anyone. Elite opponents have no incentive. Garcia said as much. The realistic path isn't a title. It's a crossover or exhibition bout where the audience is the product, which is what the streaming numbers are building towards. And that's the thing worth noticing. The 2 comebacks aren't separate. The stream isn't a distraction from the fight. The stream is what makes him able to sell the fight. Whether he gets rich again probably doesn't depend on Ryan Garcia or Don King or one more title. It depends on whether a man whose entire brand was spending money can this time keep it. If you want more stories where the money actually goes, subscribe.